Hello and welcome to IBM. I'm Andy Shi, developer advocate. Today I want to show you an interesting example using Lagom framework to talk to some message apps. Due to the complexity of this example, I'm not going to follow all the steps that's listed here. As you can see, there are several steps, major steps. But rather I would like to go through a couple of major points, so uh, sort of going through the hurdle and complementing what this README cannot express during using words. So first, let's talk about the application. It is built on top of a sample application, which is called uh, IBM Message Hub Kafka Liberty Sample Application. And you should have it deployed before you can start deploying the others. So to see how that's done, just click on this link and you have to go through this. It's not that complicated unless you want to modify the code, but it's going to take some time because you're doing a Cloud Foundry CF push. And also you have to have an IBM Cloud account. In this case, I would recommend a paid account. The next part, which is kind of confusing, is you actually have to have a Message Hub service instance. So this is actually required by this app. So the app actually has a message bus to talk to. Um, However, the service is created independently. So here is how you do it. Um, the key here is to make sure that you make the name Message Hub Service. And you can create that. Now, after the service is created, we need to retrieve the service credentials so that we can access the Message Hub. Since we don't have any, we're going to create a new one, and we'll just use the default settings. And it's going to create a new sets of credentials for us. And I'll show you the important information. I'll click the View Credentials, and here is all the things you're going to need for the Lagom client to access it. So let's talk about Lagom a little bit before we proceed. Lagom is a framework built on top of Akka and Play framework. What this framework offers is set of features wrapped on top of Akka toolkits. So you don't have to worry about the details on how to um, do the details wirings. You don't have to worry about how to use the reactive streaming. You can simply use it as is, and that's the benefit of it. Lagom framework has many features it offers, essentially for building scalable microservices clusters. So you actually can have a large cluster built on top of Lagom, even though it's called microservices clusters. But in this example, what our Lagom application is doing is it's basically a client talking to this existing app, this IBM Message Hub Kafka Liberty sample app, to both produce and consume messages. That's what it does. Um, this app coming back is basically the sample app for IBM Message Hub and Liberty integration. So once you have all these information prerequisites ready, and you have the information from the service credentials, what you can do is you can start to download the Lagom service, and then you can deploy them, or you can play them. You can either run them in your local environment, or you can try to deploy them on IBM Cloud, and which is public cloud, and IBM Cloud Private. So let's talk about IBM Cloud Private a little bit. Um, so IBM Cloud Private basically allows you to have a full-fledged Kubernetes cluster set up on a local environment. Um, Basically, either on your laptop or on your own VMs somewhere sitting. But it's different from Minikube, that it is actually a full-fledged Kubernetes cluster. So you do get multiple nodes, and the control plane and the worker nodes are sitting in different nodes. So it's different from Minikube. And also you are able to have other services installed um, as your preferences. So here is a link to install the IBM Cloud Private. Um, I would recommend using the Vagrant uh, VMs, which is the simplest and most straightforward. But you have the option of using other approaches. And here is a very interesting feature that, or interesting phenomenon that I observed, that when you use the Vagrant app, sometimes it's going to fail. In that case, what you're going to do is if you do an ifconfig, you're going to see one of, well, in this case it's not there, but sometimes you're going to see a vbox net 0, and sometimes you can see more than that. You can see vbox net 1 created. And in my case, what I found out is if I delete those and rerun Vagrant up, that Vagrant service will just come up nicely. So after you're done with this, what you need to do is just to log in to your GUI, follow the steps here, log into your GUI and create your cluster. And then make sure that the cluster name is not mycluster.icp, but what is referred in our document. So basically, deploying to ICP and public cloud Kubernetes will be the same, except that you have to create your ICP environment first. So let's go ahead and take a look at how to deploy IBM Cloud Container Services. So again, you need to have a cluster. You have to make sure that you create the cluster name properly. So here we call the cluster name Lagom test. Make sure you do that in the ICP GUI so you can follow the examples. And of course, in both cases, we still need a registry service a namespace in IBM Cloud, so you can just download the images. But I find it easier to I find it easier to use the same registry. If you do prefer to use Docker, you can use your Docker hub as well, except that you need to modify the files in the deployment scripter so that they pull the images from Docker hub instead of your IBM registry. So deploying this Lagom services kind of is straightforward. Basically, you need a Cassandra, which is Lagom's default persistence services. Then you deploy Lagom, um, and then you can use it to test if you can connect to the Message Hub app, or you can even consume the messages and produce messages in both ways. So, like I said, I'm not going to create the whole steps because it's going to be too long, but hopefully this is helpful to you, and thank you for watching.